Welcome everyone. Welcome to Friends Old and New. And if you're new to this channel, thank you so much for being here. If you're wondering what it's all about, every week I put out videos that talk about improving your overall spiritual practices and how to improve, hopefully, the quality of your life, no matter who you are, where you go. And so I don't know about the rest of you, but this past week has just been a roller coaster. And I know for those of you who have also connected with me, it has been pretty much the same for you. And one of the biggest questions that I get is, Skyfire, when my life is in so much flux and change, and I can barely tell what's up from down, my noise is just in my mind, how can you even tell what feels right? How can you sense what is good for, for me, for myself? And I wanted to share that with you, some thoughts and teachings in regards to that, and let you in on something that may or may not be a secret to you. And that is a wondrous sacred gift that the Creator gave to all of us. And that is the inner knowing. And I mean knowing with a capital K. So I'm not talking about, knowing things with your mind. No, this is that deep down inside, where some people call it, you feel it in your bones. It's a gut feeling. And what's the point of it? Well, the inner knowing does several things. It allows for you to connect beyond yourself to the Creator, the creation, to those beyond you. What it also does is that it is an inner navigator, which is what I'm going to really be focusing on today, that cannot be lost or disoriented regardless of the gymnastics and noise of the mind or the whirlwinds of emotions. It will stay true and guide you through the best and the worst of times. So here is the thing, though. What is very normal, especially in the beginning, is that when it seems you need it the most is exactly then, when your life is just upside down and it's hard to just hear yourself think, much less connect from here. So how do you get there? How do you get to this inner navigator? And you get there, as you see in the Good Red Road, through the great silence. And the great silence is when you can begin to filter out all of the chaos, inwards and outwards, in order to be able to access this knowing where you can connect with your higher self and beyond yourself. And initially, it can be very difficult, especially if you are going with a lot of stress, there's anxiety. But I promise you, you're worth it. And connecting with this navigator, which will never fail you and keep you in your life's path, is worth the effort. So the biggest key that I can give you will be that of being very mindful. So I call it sensory mindfulness. And a lot of times, just feeling so stressed out as we do, is there's so much noise literally inwards and outwards. We are constantly bombarded with everything. Just think about it. So the number one step I would give to you, as ironic as it might seem, is to try to put down the electronics as much as you can. I know they're calling it called like a dopamine detox, they call it, because every time you hit that phone, it stimulates certain parts of the brain and so forth. Put it down. Pay attention to what it is that you are listening to, consciously and subconsciously. So first outwards, and if I find that it is distracting, then I will put on soothing music. So typically for me, it'll be Native American flute music. I find it so beautiful, connecting with the song and medicine of the ancestors, the music of the ancestors in that way. What is it that you, in your body, consciously drop those shoulders, even if you have to flex your hands and loosen all the muscles in that way, make yourself as comfortable as you can be. And just being within your body, being within your breath, and focusing on your heartbeat. Now, initially, it's standard where your mind does not want to, frankly, shut up. And it'll just want to go and go on. Fine. Acknowledge your thoughts like drifting summer clouds, and then go back to your body. This is why I like music when I do this exercise. I like breathing again, that sensory mindfulness that is important. And even if it's a case where you find that even if that's not enough, even if you have beautiful music or listening to the birds, you might have your favorite cup of coffee or tea, and in that moment, you're just focusing on the taste of what you're drinking, of how it's going into your body. So again, the idea is you are putting all of your senses to focus in that moment where you are. If you find there are persistent thoughts, then write them down. Saying, okay, I'm writing them down, I'm getting them. It's kind of like a song that you have in your skull and you have to listen to get it out of your head, right? So you write that thought down and then go back. And how do you recognize this great knowing? Again, you've used it all the time. It's when you get that in your gut, in your bones feeling, when you knew you should have made a decision and if you didn't listen to it, you're kicking yourself laterwards. Or when you feel this connection with a person or with a place and that resonance that comes back. So when you have this sensory mindfulness and you can be in that moment, in the beginning, maybe you can only do it for a few seconds. Then as you go forward in the practice, you can do more. You can go further and further. And that's the idea that at times the different things that you are using, whether it be music, gazing at a beautiful image, like say of ocean waves, having something that is healthy or nourishing to drink, and just being in that moment allows for you to do that. Just be. That is the thing about going into the great silence, is beingness. And then from there, you can just be open. You can be open to what messages might come from your higher self or for your guides. Or I should say in addition to, if you have some sort of concern, and you can be in this moment within your own spirit, within your own body, where you begin to contemplate it. And here's where you draw the line. Let your mind, say if you're working on a problem, say, oh, this is the problem I'm having, say at work, or I'm trying to resolve something with something I'm working on, and I'm really concerned about it. And I've been focusing on this solution or this person. And is this really where I should put my attention? And then let the mind be quiet. Just as if when you're asking somebody the time, or we do it a lot when we're enjoying watching a show or a movie, the mind can just be quiet and just be receptive. And put yourself in that receptive space as if you were getting ready to watch a movie or a show, just that openness, or listening to somebody in conversation. And what you're going to find is that you will, at the very least, have what I call a resonance. So say if you say, I'm thinking of this solution, is this the best possible one? And you'll get a, or a, and you can go through each one, but the trick is not to have this start yammering on again. Just get a strong yes or no feeling. Just like when you get, again, it's a gut feeling is what people call it. And then when you get a little bit further from just that feeling of the resonance, does this resonate with you, or is there a dissonance? That's the first step. And then afterwards, when you learn to be able to let your mind be open and receptive and allow for different feelings, thoughts, and images to come in, then the mind can begin to analyze and to have dialogue, and make sure that it is truly open. So just like when you have a conversation with someone, you hope that they will be open to what you have to say, not busy thinking about what they're going to say next and not truly paying attention to you. You're doing this with your sacred self. Give yourself that same respect that you would give to somebody else. So, and where does this information come from? Well, this information comes from, as I said to you before, in native teaching, the heart with a capital H. One of the gifts of the heart is this knowing, this inner knowing, this inner navigation that comes from the higher self, that comes from being connected to the Creator and to the creation. And what's really nice about it is when something truly has come to you through this great silence, through your navigator, you can test it. That's a good thing. So say that you, that example of that problem thing where you're thinking about different solutions, and you have the mind maybe is choosing option A versus option C, but then your inner knowing, your inner navigator said, no, it's option B. Like, okay. Then allow the mind to begin to say, no, I want it to be option A. I'm going to try to force this. Say, okay, no, I want it to be option A. And what's going to happen is you're going to feel this pushback, this dissonance from deep inside of you. Says, no, I didn't say that. I said the second option. So when something is true, and for a believer, the truth stands, right? It doesn't matter what you do to it. So you say, okay, option B. Why did my inner navigator choose this? Then allow the mind to investigate why. It could be a different perspective. Maybe you need to seek some information that when you were just so tunnel vision into what you thought was the right thing, you missed. And that's the whole point of this, that this inner navigator can withstand what the mind wants to impose. It can stay true regardless of the emotions when you just know what the right thing is. And ultimately that right thing will be for your greater good, and in turn also for the greater good of all. Another aspect, people might call it a conscience. Yes, that is another aspect of it. But here today, I'm talking about how to be able to connect with this fantastic gift of this inner knowing, this inner navigator. And you can do this also too. Sometimes the best thing can be where you're going for a walk. But again, the sensory mindfulness is that where you are in one place and one time, you are silencing as best you can the noise that is around in your surroundings, and taking the time to silence the inner noise. And I'll be very honest with you, especially if you don't give yourself this type of self-care to connect with the sacred within the self. I'll be frank with you, it can take a good at least 10 minutes. So I would ask you, please be patient with yourself and carve out about at least 10 to 20 minutes, because the first 5 to 10 minutes will be you just getting yourself settled. And then maybe the other 5 minutes will be like, am I doing this right? And then finally you get settled in. And what's nice is once you begin to recognize the energy, it's like a solidness within you, and that when you test it, it stands. It becomes easier and easier to connect with this inner knowing in real time. And you could have a circus of hopefully not flying monkeys going on around you, and you're trying to find your way through, and you know where to go. You know what to do. The details maybe have not been worked out in your mind, but you have a sense of what can work. And that's, again, the incredible thing, that once you can begin to recognize this inner resonance, doesn't matter what's going on. Doesn't matter. You can even try to trick yourself. You won't be allowed. Someone can try to trick you. You'll get a sense. And if something is good for you, it's going to be loud and clear. Follow this. Pursue that. So, with this, I would say to you, to any of you who would like to go into this further, this is just scratching the surface of these teachings. Please feel free to connect with me via my website. Drop me a comment. I am now going to be starting my classes and virtual classes for those of you who would like to connect with me. And it would be a delight to assist you with this, because we are all born with this. There is no exceptions to this. It is a beautiful gift that all it takes is self-love. It just takes time for you to give to yourself. And the wondrous thing about this beautiful inner knowing, since it comes from the heart, is that it also has you be open and empathetic and sensitive to how this will impact not only your life, but also how it connects with others as well. But that'll be another teaching for interpreting for another day. So until then, my friends, I thank you so much. Again, for those of you who have subscribed, thank you. I can't believe our community is growing. And for those who haven't, I ask you please to, when you do that, it lets them know that you really appreciate the positivity. We can grow this community together and improve not only your life, but for all of us as a community and as a global family. So until the next time, my friends, we get the pleasure of being together. Wanishi and bright blessings.